What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Fantasy Football Grind Time with the Fantasy Football Grinder. Guys, today I want to start a series for the week. I'm going to start covering all of my top 10s of each position. Now, guys, keep in mind, when I say top 10, I'm going to go, look, guys, if you want to get a top 10 list from everybody in the world of, who they like the best, as far as talent, that's fine. But I want to try to cover, guys, when I say top 10, running backs today and top 10 wide receivers tomorrow, etc. When I say that, when I'm covering, what have I seen by changes? Not just okay, they did good last year, but I want to see by the changes of each team, and I also want to cover, where they're at positionally. There's going to be some guys in here that most people would say, well, you should switch this guy for this guy. Not necessarily. The reason I say that, I'm going to put some of these guys in here towards, not in the first five. I mean, look, guys, first five is pretty simple. Everybody knows who they are. It's a matter of arranging them. Certain people are going to arrange the first five differently. I'm not going to come over here and try to shock the world, guys. But when I get to my bottom five, there's going to be some people that disagree. I don't mind that you disagree, but the purpose is, for what we're trying to do here, we're trying to find these guys that are going to help your team boom, and where you're going to get them versus where you're going to get the other guys. That's where I like them better. So when I start breaking down guys, especially when we get to receivers, because receivers are going to be it's going to be all over the board. Quarterbacks are going to be kind of crazy, and tight ends, when you get past two or three guys, you get past the Kelseys and the Kittles of the world, you start getting into a funky area where nobody really knows. Everybody's just going by off of what they've seen from last year or the position that they're in and hoping that they know. I can give you guys my opinion, and I'll give you guys my opinion. That's where I stand with these guys, especially with these running backs. Running backs, for me, it's pretty simple in the top five, and I think a lot of people take too much time worrying and arguing over five guys. And to be honest with you, if you're not a top five pick, it don't matter, because you're not going to see them on your team anyways. So that's why I tend to focus on later rounds, guys. I started off all my videos from last week, my first week of really doing this on my own. I started all those videos off with all my guys that are year two, rookies, everything from that, in that perspective. I picked sleepers. Those are the guys that are important to me. Those are the guys that make my team boom. So these guys here, as much as we like them, and as much as we can argue all day of who's going to be the best in the league, that's great, that's fine. But for a fantasy perspective, guys, I mean, this is the entire purpose of this show, is fantasy. And from a fantasy perspective, if you're not a top five pick, you're not touching any of the top five guys, so what does it matter? Now, I'm going to give you guys my opinions. I'm going to support those opinions with facts and show you what I've seen from these guys. And that's how I'm going to go with this. I'm sure somebody's going to say, well, this one should jump this one. That's fine, guys. If they jump that person in your mind, if that's in your rankings, they jump that guy, that's fine. That's a matter of opinion here. But when we get to the bottom five, those are going to be the guys that, it's going to be an argument all year long. But those are the guys that you're going to possibly get as your RB2s that are going to be world beaters. These are the guys that are going to make your team or destroy your team. When you start talking outside of that top five, you start talking about guys that are either going to make or destroy your team. So you have to be very, very, very picky when it comes to your RB2. I'm okay with guys grabbing Jonathan Taylor as an RB2. He's a guy I'm okay with you having as an RB2. He's not the guy that I say, I hope I have him as an RB2. I hope I have Jonathan Taylor as an RB3, because I know that it may take him a few weeks to get into the system. I know that Jonathan Taylor is potentially Rookie of the Year, easy, hands down. Barring an injury, which he never got in college that put him out long. He's played through any kind of injuries he's gotten in college. He's very strong guy. He's a very Zeke-esh type of guy that if you get him as your RB2, I have no problem with that. I would suggest RB3, which means you've already gotten, one of these top 5 guys, Gurley, a veteran that's going to play. We know look at Gurley's competition. That's why I bring up Gurley, guys. That's why I'm a fan of Gurley. His competition is very slim, almost non-existent. So he's going to get the carries. He's going to get his touches. He's on a team that's offensively, Atlanta is always a fantasy relevant team. No matter what season you bring it back to, they're always offensively fantasy relevant. Now, last year they had issues with running backs. And I think a lot of that had to do with injury and situational more than it had to do with talent. They lacked talent last year, hands down. There's nobody who can argue that. But, at the end of the day, some teams, guys, could pick up a guy off a practice squad and make him a decent running back. It just depends on the team. It depends on the carries. There's guys, guys, we got to think this is the NFL. You got to think there's got to be 100 running backs in the world that could carry a load. They could carry the weight of being the guy. So, it's a matter of finding that guy. Some teams are stacked. They've got 2. They may have 3. I don't know. It's always a mixture there. But I think Atlanta had some problems there last year. I know that they had a down season offensively compared to normal years. You had a lot of injuries there. If you grab Gurley as your RB2 and then you follow that up with a Taylor, by the end of the season, you're going to be starting your RB1, who maybe say it was a Zeke, Kamara, McCaffrey, any of those guys with Gurley and Jonathan Taylor, and you're going to be destroying your league because the wide receivers can fill in this year. When you start talking wide receivers, you're almost better off excluding the top 5 and talking straight 6 through 15. That's where you're almost better doing this year. You're almost better with that because those are the real competition this year. That's going to be the real competition with wide receivers. Where you win on wide receivers is going to be 6 through 15 and picking the right ones. So, guys, I want to just kind of break that down before I start. I want you guys to understand that when I say top 10 running backs, there's a lot of factors I'm going to put out and a lot of things that make my decision on top 10 guys. And it's outside of what did they do last year? What can they do? I want to see what will they do. Can and will are 2 different things, guys. And so that's what we're going to focus on every time we start talking players. My number 1 guy this year, I get it. You're going to call me a homer. That's fine. But Zeke is my number 1 guy. Why do I make Zeke number 1? What puts Zeke over everybody else? You know what puts Zeke over everybody else? 4 solid years. 4 years of guaranteed production. That's what puts Zeke over everybody else. I don't have to worry, is he going to get hurt? He doesn't get hurt. I don't have to worry, is he going to fumble the ball 15 times? He doesn't fumble. I don't have to worry, is he going to get his carries? He's going to get his carries. He's one of the highest paid guys in Dallas. He's going to get his carries. He's almost making quarterback money. For some teams, he is making quarterback money. He's going to get his carries. So Zeke is my number 1 pick. And when we start breaking that down, let's break down the Dallas offense and let's see what they've done and what they've changed. And what they've changed is they've brought in Mike McCarthy. And some people would say that's a negative. I say it's not. And why do I say it's not? Look at McCarthy's running backs that he's had over the years. He's not had great running back play. But when you finally give him a solid running back, a.k.a. Eddie Lacy, he makes him a top 5 guy. So 2 years straight, too. 2 years straight with a top 5 guy. McCarthy will run the ball. Guys, it's a lot like this, okay? If I'm digging a hole, the only tools I got around are shovels. Obviously, I'm going to use shovels. But if you hand me a freaking backhoe, I'm going to use the freaking backhoe. Why not? And that was the situation with McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers. You had the monster. You had the monster quarterback. Why would you not throw the ball a million times with Aaron Rodgers? Why not? Why would you not make the entire game around passing the ball? Do I think Dak plays better with McCarthy? I do. But you got to look at even last year with Zeke as, with Dak throwing the ball as much as he did, Zeke still is going to put up his numbers. You're never going to worry about production with Zeke. I don't have to worry about that. We start going down these next four, which, we always say these top five guys. When we start breaking down these next four, there's always a worry and concern here with these next four. There's always a concern. It's a lot of changing of systems. It's a lot of how much of that production was with this guy, with that guy. With Zeke, what changed? The head coach. That's all that changed. The offensive coordinator stayed the same, and he's still going to be calling the same plays. So they also fixed some holes there. What Dallas did this year, they fixed a hole where a lot of people didn't think they would do it. Instead of going and getting a defensive player in the first round, they grabbed CeeDee Lamb. Well, when you grab CeeDee Lamb, what you do in essence is you go out and you say, okay, guys, here's what we're going to do. We've proven to you that Dak is a 4,500-yard passer. He can do that. We've proved that to you. And on top of doing that, he had a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. So a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, that's insane. That doesn't happen. A lot of your quarterbacks that throw for 4,500 yards, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. For every touchdown they're going to throw a pick. With Dak, he still threw 3-to-1. That's ridiculous. And 4,500 yards. That's ridiculous. So, here we are. What they did is, they went, instead of patching up holes on the O-line, they had Frederick retire. So instead of just immediately patching those holes with guys that may or may not put up, there was a lot of close competition in this draft when it came to center and when it came to guards and tackles. There was some really close competition there, and so they waited there. But what they did is they grabbed CeeDee Lamb. Now you have an offense where, they also grabbed a guy named Biadasz as a center, and he can put up, he may take some time to come into the system, but when he's into the system, he's going to be a solid guy. And they already had backups that were going to be good on the O-line. So what they did is they stopped the focus on having to have that superstar offensive line, and they put the focus on defenses cannot stack the box. We have CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Amari Cooper all lined up together. And then you throw in Jarwin, I believe. That's the tight end. And Jarwin's proven that he can catch the ball. Now you have 4 weapons. Also, you have Tony Pollard, who I guarantee you, with McCarthy helping on the offense, they're gonna flank Pollard a lot. You're gonna see a lot of plays where Zeke and Pollard line up in the backfield together, and they'll flank him. So you opened up a lot of holes for Zeke right there. The offensive line's not going to have to worry about this stacked box routine. You cannot have a running back fighting a stacked box every week. That's not going to be successful. It won't. Now, what Dallas did is they said, okay, you're not going to stack the boxes on us anymore. We're going to keep our O-line healthy. We're going to keep us okay. They've still got solid O-line play. It's still going to be a top 10 O-line. It's not going to be number 1. No, it's not, but it won't have to be, because you're going to have so many weapons out there on the field that you can't just stack the box on Zeke. That's the number one thing Dallas fixed this year that they had to fix. You couldn't just keep letting Zeke and Dak have to deal with constant pressure. Constant pressure is not helping those two. It doesn't help them win games. Their best year was in 2016, and that year they had a solid O-line. They had Witten catching the ball, they had Dez catching the ball, and they had a ton of other secondary guys like Beasley, a few other guys. They were there, and they were massive help. They opened a ton of lanes. So that's what they did this year, and that's why I say with Zeke, I'm not worried about my production. I can draft Zeke number 1. I know I'm going to get my touchdowns, my yards. And the funny thing is, because of the hype, I'm still able to get Zeke later than that. Guys, take him as your number 1. You know what you're getting. You know that you're not going to have to miss him for a few weeks. Number 2 for me, and number 2 and number 3 are neck and neck. They're pretty much one and the same. Number 2 for me is McCaffrey. I'll give McCaffrey the edge right now. this may change through the next few weeks. I do like that. McCaffrey he's had his back-to-back, high-end seasons. He proved to me he could have those seasons. My one knock on McCaffrey will be I don't trust that his size helps. I get that he's put on weight. I get it. I know, but I don't trust backs. The style that he plays has never held up long in the NFL. And he had wide receiver 1 targets last year. Does that continue? I mean, almost 200 targets last year. Do you really think that's going to continue on every season? That's not. Nobody's going to allow that. Nobody's going to allow their running back to get more targets than their receivers every year. He got that because you had a lot of young quarterback play, and they were scared. You had a lot of quarterbacks that were scared of the defenses, and it was easier to just throw the ball in the outlet to McCaffrey. When you start winning games, you're not going to win games every play throwing to McCaffrey. I get it. He can break loose, and that's great, but you're not going to get that every week anymore. That's going to get shut down. Bridgewater's a much better quarterback. That's an upgrade for what they had going. He's not an upgrade for Cam at full health, because Cam at full health is a top 5 quarterback, and I'm not saying Bridgewater's a top 5 guy. But if you go look at the track record, the one season that McCaffrey played with a healthy version of Cam was his rookie year, and he didn't put up great numbers. He put up good numbers when Cam went down. Cam went down for a couple weeks. It wasn't just down. He was just banged up for a couple weeks, and then McCaffrey put up numbers. So McCaffrey depends on a hurt Cam or a rookie quarterback, and that's not going to happen this year. I'm sorry, but it's not. So you have to worry about that with McCaffrey, okay? And on the flip side, we know that if they give him the work, he can handle the work. So McCaffrey is, in essence, not a boom or bust, not at all. But McCaffrey, what you're hoping for with McCaffrey is the boom games. That's what you need with him. You need those to survive. And if I'm if I'm a number 1 pick, I'm scared of McCaffrey that early, because I'm scared that I'm not going to average out the points that I want to get from McCaffrey every week. This is my anchor pick. This is my pick that's supposed to give me guaranteed points every week. Now you get a new quarterback who has proven that he can do well with Latavius Murray. Bridgewater did really good with Latavius Murray last year, not as well with Kamara. So I worry that with a guy like McCaffrey, who depends on a lot of the Kamara type work, I worry that he's not going to put up the massive numbers, guys. And I like him, but I'm still concerned about that. And that's why I say between him and Saquon, this is going to be a really close 2 and 3. And the only thing, this is the knock that I give McCaffrey and Saquon that puts them under Zeke for me. You got to understand and recognize where I'm coming from with this. My guarantee is where I'm coming, because this is supposed to be my anchor. If I can't trust every week that my anchor is going to A, be there, and B, put up every week the exact same amount of points or more, I don't like that. I don't like it. So McCaffrey, for me, I spent more time on McCaffrey talking about the negatives, because I want you guys to recognize everybody knows the positives. Everybody knows the positives with McCaffrey. There's no talking anyone into drafting McCaffrey. He's a great running back. He's a top 3 running back, hands down. There's no arguing that. I tend to avoid McCaffrey and go towards Zeke in drafts. And the reason being is, I think that if you're going to get McCaffrey, get him after Zeke, because you're not guaranteed points there, especially with Bridgewater coming in. Bridgewater concerns me with McCaffrey, because Bridgewater did not do a whole lot with Kamara, and I get that Kamara was still banged up for some of that process, but we had a really bad season from Kamara last year. And just, you got to be forewarned that these guys that are pass catchers, man, they're risking their body. Every time they turn, if I'm a pass catcher, okay, and I turn, and I'm not watching the other side, I'm always risking that blindside hit. Even if it's a legal or illegal hit, it doesn't matter. I'm always risking that blindside hit under, in my knees or in my legs. And these guys depend a lot on their legs. This is fully depend on his legs for the speed and everything else. I worry about that, guys. That's a concern for me, especially in a season where we're not going to have a full training season. We're not having a full off season for training. Yeah, it's just not going to happen, guys. I get it. They're gonna have camps, but this is not going to be the same style, guys. So my concern with McCaffrey is the not injury history, but is injuries from just being overworked, because it took all that extra work to make him the top high end running back last year. And then I worry about the quarterback play that he's going to get from Bridgewater. I don't know that Bridgewater's going to make him a top 3 guy or a number 1 guy. I think it'll make him top 3. I don't think it'll make him number 1. So I like McCaffrey. I have no bones about McCaffrey, guys. If you grab McCaffrey, I'm not mad at you. I'm okay with that. No problems. If you want to grab him number 1, go get him. I personally will avoid him at number 1. I will go Zeke at number 1. Next is Saquon. Saquon is number 3. He's really probably 2 number 2s for me, really. I just see that as talking order more than a reference more than anything. Saquon is going to be a very similar to McCaffrey for me as of today. Saquon may jump up to number 1 in my board. He may. This is the thing I want to. McCaffrey. I mean, Saquon had. We had the issue in 18. We seen him come up real gingerly. Everybody was scared to death. And for 2 weeks, all we heard was, man, it's risky. It's risky. For 2 weeks, we heard that. And then he finished out the season fine. Last year, it hits him. He goes down for a long, extended time. This is the concern with McCaffrey and Saquon. These guys depend heavily on that pass-catching game. And at some point, you're going to get hit in the wrong spot. And when you do, that's when it puts you down for weeks. And that injury will carry on and bother him for the rest of his career. That will not just stop. It's not just going to stop right there. It's going to affect him the rest of his career. No matter what anybody has to say, it will be an effect on his career at some point. Whether it means he's going to adapt his game to a different style in order to avoid that, or whether it means it carries on and hurts him again, that will affect his career. So, guys, nobody wants to be hurt like that, and it happened. So, guys, be very, very, very aware that it could happen again. It could. It could easily happen again to Saquon, and that's my concern there. Now, here's the positive with Saquon. So, with McCaffrey, we kind of had 2 negatives. He had it's an injury risk, and, the team kind of shown that they intend to use other players. They grabbed Robbie Anderson, they grabbed Teddy Bridgewater. I'm kind of concerned there. Now with Saquon, the Giants found a stud in Darius Slayton. So Darius Slayton is going to be a guy I really like, guys. If you grab Darius Slayton in any round after 10, I am happy for you because he's going to be a beast. He could be easily a wide receiver 2. There's a potential he's a wide receiver 1. Depending on how much change this team brings to the table this year. I don't know how much I expect. Defensively, they're kind of 50-50, but they did a lot of offensive moves here. So the Giants went out. They signed Jason Garrett. Well, Jason Garrett comes in with Colombo. Colombo is who made the Dallas Cowboys offensive line over the last few years be as successful as they were. If you guys remember, if you take a step back and you remember, in 17, Dallas had a few games there where it looked like the offensive line just stopped learning how they forgot how to play football. Like all of a sudden they forgot. all of a sudden you get this headline that says Dallas Cowboys re-signed Colombo. And I didn't know. I mean, I must have lost track of it. Somebody must have lost track of it somewhere because I never seen that he was gone. Colombo comes back, and here you are in 18, and they put up a 9-7 season. Not 9-7. I think it was. I'd have to go look that back up. They had the second best season of Dak's career was there. I believe it was 12-4. But that was Dak's second best season with the Cowboys, and Zeke had a monster season. And, you know, all that revolved around them bringing Colombo back for the offensive line. So then, okay, we have Garrett that they signed. They have Garrett, we have Colombo. Those are our two guys that they've signed. Then what happened is Cam Fleming, who used to be one of the best offensive linemen in New England, he comes to New York with Garrett and Colombo. He was on Dallas' squad last year as a backup. He comes there. And then they turn around and they slam out 3 back-to-back offensive linemen in the draft in the first couple of rounds. So I'm telling you guys, what Garrett is going to do there is a lot of what Garrett did in Dallas. Garrett is going to focus heavy on building an offensive line. He's going to help his quarterback become legitimate, and he's going to do that through developing the run game. So when we're talking Saquon, guys, the issue with Saquon is going to be watching Saquon progress through the preseason. If Saquon can get through the preseason fairly unscathed, no injury issues, had to miss a few days, and then we know that this offensive line is piecing together, guys, by August 1st, we may be talking a whole nother ball game. We may be talking Saquon number 1. And I know a lot of people already are. I'm not going to go there yet. Guys, we have to go off of what we know, not off of what we hope, off of what we know. Touchy-feely has never won anything, guys. You know, being fit, going off your feelings, that's never won anything. Going off of knowledge and off of facts, that is how you win. The fact is, we know that they're trying to build there, and I believe that the building process is there. It's just a matter of piecing it together. So, guys, number 4, this is another guy that he's number 4 for me today, and he could climb tomorrow, because I'm honestly on the lines of him being better throughout this season. If they can involve the other running back. This is weird because this is a guy that depends on the bruiser running back to come in and help, and that's Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara's best years were with Mark Ingram. His best years were with Mark Ingram. So when Mark Ingram left last season, all of a sudden he fell apart. He got hurt. All this also, there was telltale signs in 18 where he got banged up. And I told everybody in 19, hey guys, watch out. Alvin Kamara is not to be trusted this season. They got rid of the guy that was helping basically protect him from the injury, and then did nothing to help him after that, And they were talking about Latavius Murray like he was some third string option that they might use if anybody went down. Guys, if the New Orleans Saints wake up and they realize how good Latavius Murray was, the 2 games he got to play. 2 games, guys, 220 yards, 4 touchdowns. Wake up, New Orleans. Wake up, because Latavius Murray's the real deal. He's always been the real deal, and he has very limited mileage. He's always had to back up these guys that are top-tier running backs. That's where he's always gotten screwed, because when he would take over a job where he was going to be the guy, they would bring in a rookie or something on the draft, and he would get passed up. He backed up Marshawn Lynch. Now he's backing up Alvin Kamara. This is what happens with Latavius Murray a lot, and when he gets his chance, everybody's like, oh, I didn't even know that guy was on the field. I didn't even know who he was. I'm like, guys, he's been in the league for years. He's always put up numbers. When Latavius Murray gets the rock, he puts up numbers. Now, why I bring Latavius Murray up? That makes Alvin Kamara Alvin Kamara. Kamara is not as good as everybody wants him to be when he's by himself. He's not. He proved that last year. He's not as good by himself. He needs Latavius Murray to be on the field to help him. You have to put Latavius Murray on the field. Kamara is not going to run between the tackles, guys. I get it. Everybody swore he could, and then last year, what happened? He was hurt. He gets hurt. Guys, he's not going to put up numbers because he's not that guy. That is not his style of football. He is much better with another big-time running back on the field and letting Kamara be the pass catcher, Le'Veon Bell type. Everybody needs to remember that Le'Veon Bell had always had help. He always had some kind of guy there that was not the best in the world, but always good enough to put up some numbers and keep defenses honest. All New Orleans has is Michael Thomas out there as a receiver. That's what they got. They got Michael Thomas. That's it. They don't have a secondary receiver. Kamara could be that secondary receiver, and that could push Kamara up to a number 2 running back overall. But the only way that happens is if you let Latavius Murray factor into the game plan. If Latavius Murray does not factor into the game plan, you can knock Kamara out of the top 5 almost. And that's just how it is. That's how it was last year, so prove me wrong. It's not going to change, guys. I like Kamara. I hope that he takes off, but I hope that in order for that to happen, I know that Latavius Murray has to be a factor. If not, then you can stop talking about Kamara now because it's going to be another injury-plagued season. That's just how it is. He's not gonna be this guy that everybody wants him to be. He's not gonna be a between the tackles runner. Yes, he's done it before, but he doesn't do it every play. He can't do it every play. He is not built to be Zeke. He's not built to be these bruiser-type running backs, and a lot of these guys are not anymore. So, guys, that's just how it is. A lot of them are not. It seems like some of these running backs are getting smaller and the linebackers are getting bigger. And that's that's why I like Kamara. It's great that he's a great pass catcher, but what does that matter if he can't run between the tackles and you're not going to give him any help? Give him some help and Kamara moves up in my rankings. That's how I feel about Kamara. He can move up, but that's how. Number 5, this is, look, guys, don't expect Dalvin Cook. I'm avoiding Dalvin Cook. We're still having a contract situation and everything else, so don't expect that. Not right now. Number 5 for me is Derrick Henry. He's a guy that could jump up too, but I'm not going to fully trust in Derrick Henry this year. I liked him last year. I'm not fully trusting in Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is number 5, and he doesn't need to be drafted over any of the other 4. The other 4 need to stay above him in any draft board. If you're drafting, he needs to stay above them. And I would be hard-pressed if I was looking at Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs, and I'd be hard-pressed right now to take Henry over Jacobs. I like Henry as he's a big running back. He puts up great numbers. But, guys, we have to remember there was a few games with Henry that we had, up until the fourth quarter, that he had done nothing. All of a sudden, he gets a 1 carry and he takes it for 80 yards and a touchdown. I don't particularly like that. Not from a guy that big. When you're built that big and you need that one play every so often to make you relevant, that worries me. That worries the crap out of me, guys. I'm not happy with that. So, when I'm talking Derrick Henry, I think that, you don't have a massive quarterback, guys. So, when you look at it, you're not going to see this massive quarterback. Tannehill's not going to throw up, 4,500 yards. He's going to be a 3,000 to 3,500 yard guy, which is good. It's solid. There's nothing wrong with being that guy. But what you're going to get from Henry is going to be a lot of Henry's going to need that. Henry's going to need that guy, man. He needs that guy to help him. So he needs a quarterback to help him. And we're not giving him proper, we're not going to give him proper O-line play because they lost some pieces there. I'm scared for Henry this year. I am. I am very scared. Teams know that Derrick Henry is a major weapon, and they're going to stack the box. They're gonna leave two guys on A.J. Brown and stack the box on Henry. That's what they're going to do. Now, I think that through the season, I think that they will figure that out. I think Henry will produce. He's going to produce top 5 running back numbers. But it's not going to be pretty, guys. And there's going to be games where you get nothing from him. That's the fear with Derrick Henry for me. How many games am I going to lose where I get nothing from Derrick Henry and nobody else does anything? This is my anchor, and he doesn't put up. That's my fear. He can put up numbers. Don't get me wrong. He's great. He can put up numbers. But he's going to have games where you're on the last edge of your seat hoping that he gets that one big play. Because if he don't get it, he does nothing. That one big play saves his day. And if we don't get that one big play, you're not guaranteed anything from him. So I'm kind of on the lines of avoiding Henry this year. Number 6, pretty clear for me, guys. I've already mentioned him. Josh Jacobs is my number 6. Josh Jacobs could almost be a top 3 guy for me. The thing with Josh Jacobs I don't like is injury. I don't like his injury, but it wasn't a leg injury. Guys, there's a big difference. An upper body and a lower body injury is a big difference. If this is a guy that repetitively had concussions, no, avoid him. Avoid him. They could pull him out for weeks. Avoid that. But this is a guy that's had issues with shoulders. Not legs, not knees, not hamstrings, shoulders. So he could have played last season. He could have played through, and they just decided to pull him out. He was still playing. Even the games he was supposed to be pulled out of, he still took some carries. He still did some work. So, guys, with Josh Jacobs, you're getting a guy who's on a team where John Gruden is focused solely on the run game and now is trying to build the passing game through Henry Ruggs, which is a smart move. The best run games in the world have speedy receivers to help them. That's why Kareem Hunt did so good his rookie year. You had those speedy receivers in Kansas City that helped keep that defense honest. Because if you've got a speedy receiver, teams have to drop back. They can't just stay up in the box. So I think they did right. When they grabbed Henry Ruggs, I know a lot of people said, oh my God, why didn't you get Lamb? Why didn't you get Judy? Guys, that was a good move on their part. For what they needed, they made a good move. I think they lost on a wide receiver 1, but Henry Ruggs he's a talent that can't be replaced. And I see where their ultimate goal is. The ultimate goal is to have that Tyreek Hill. To have that guy that can catch the ball, and can do a number of things. Because, that's one thing. Tyreek Hill, if you guys remember, Tyreek Hill did a number of things. He did punt and kick returns. So, they get a couple of rolls out of Henry Ruggs, and that's going to make Josh Jacobs only better. It's not going to hurt him. It's going to make him better because teams are going to have to drop back. That's what they're going to have to do with Jacobs this year. So for number 7, guys, I'm going to go, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on Josh Jacobs. Guys, with Josh Jacobs, it's pretty common sense, guys. Go look at his numbers. Go look at the things that Gruden has to say about him. We don't have things like, yesterday, we get news. The coach from Kansas City says, Williams is progressing. This ought to be his breakout season. Wait, what are you talking about? Williams? Williams? We were talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire because you drafted him in the first round, and now we're talking about Williams? And so that's the situation you want to avoid, guys. These messy running back rooms. These messy running back rooms where you got 3 and 4 running backs, and all of a sudden the coach is out here talking about Williams. Like, we went and drafted Edwards-Helaire just to come out and talk about how Williams is going to break out? What is wrong with you? Like, what are you talking about? And what are you smoking? Like, why? So that's why, when Edwards-Helaire, the hype with Helaire was going off, I was telling people, don't worry about Helaire. I'm not excited with Helaire. Don't touch Helaire. Everybody said I was stupid. Helaire. I'm like, dude, I've watched Helaire for years. I'm right here where he's from. I've been watching him for years. I can tell you now, he's not going to be the starter in KC. Like, yeah, he could be next season. Not today. Not this year. I mean, if somebody gets hurt, maybe. That's what you're hoping for, is an injury. I'm not drafting players in that high in the second and third round hoping for injuries. No. We're not drafting off of prayers for injuries. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. Give me guys that are guaranteed players, or that I know have the talent to be the guy. Edwards-Helaire, I'm not sure he's got the talent to overpower Williams. He's never played an NFL game before. Nobody knows how good he's going to be, and you've already got a guy they've been working with for 2 years. So that's why I say, with Jacobs, knowing that Gruden is willing to work with Jacobs and make him that guy and make him that main ball carrier, that's why Jacobs deserves that higher end praise. I think that Jacobs surpasses at least 2 guys in the top 5. I've got him at number 6, and I'm almost willing to bet that he will beat out 2 to 3 guys in my top 5 this year, because Jacobs is that good. I know what we've seen from him. I know the carries they're going to give him. And that's the thing. Opportunity, guys. Opportunity. If your coach believes in you, you can do a lot of things, guys. If the coach believes in a player, you can do a lot more than what some people can do. Some guys, the coaches don't believe in the player, so we're just picking them off of what we know is talent, but we're not picking them off of what they're going to get for opportunity. So, Josh Jacobs, number 6. He could be higher than that, to be honest. I would put him higher than that, to be honest. If it wasn't for the fact that these other guys, I get it, guys. They're the top 5 producers. They're going to probably be there. But I don't want you guys overdrafting Jacobs. I don't want to have you guys overdrafting him. Jacobs is a guy, you target him at the end of the first round, and his ADP is going to show you like 15 or higher. Definitely towards the end of the first round, get him. If you missed on those five running backs, get him. I showed on a mock draft a few days ago how sometimes you can pull it off where you'll go draft a Tyreek Hill and a Josh Jacobs. Sometimes you'll draft a Tyreek Hill in the first round, Josh Jacobs will come back to you. If you think that can happen, if you know it can happen, really, go for it. Get you a wide receiver and get Josh Jacobs as your RB1. Because you can always come back through and grab a Taylor and a Gurley. So, number 7, that brings me to really who I wanted to talk about just now, is Gurley. Guys, I get it. I know. Look, guys, everybody's going to ask me why Cook is not in this video. Cook is not in this video because Cook does not have a contract situation worked out. That's why Cook is not in my videos. That's why I don't talk about. I'm not bothering with Cook right now. Cook put up the best season he could possibly put up last year, and Minnesota didn't sign him or extend him, and it has nothing to do with money. Minnesota just doesn't trust that he did all that, and he still ended up hurt. You did all that and ended up hurt. So you didn't prove anything. You just proved that in order for you to play at your maximum potential, you have to miss games for injury. So I don't want to deal with Cook right now. I don't want you guys drafting Cook. I don't want to talk Cook. I'm leaving Cook to the back burner for the reason I just don't like that situation, guys. Okay? Just leave it where it's at and leave it alone. Number 7, guys, is Todd Gurley. Why is Todd Gurley my number 7? Why am I passing other people? Guys, this is in a reality situation. Reality says Gurley's going to be available to me as my number 7 guy. I'm not going to get some of these guys. Some of these other guys, there's no way I'm going to touch some of these guys. I don't trust their situations. I don't like where they're at. So, you got guys like Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, His team went and got A.J. Dillon. They went and got A.J. Dillon because they don't know if they want to extend him or not. They don't trust extending him, okay? So let's go to Todd Gurley. Look, guys, tell you a little short story, and this is why I like to get guys like Todd Gurley. LaShawn McCoy, I missed him a few years ago in a draft. I drafted him the year before. He crapped the bed on me. The next season, I skipped him. I could have gotten him. It was like 5th round. And then he goes off. And this was a few years back. This wasn't last year. This was way back. So from that point on, I said, never again will I miss another veteran that's in a position to succeed. And that's where my goal has always been. These next two will be this way. Well, not these next two, but, this is why, guys. I really like Gurley this year. I like where he's at in Atlanta. Atlanta has always tended to put up, top-tier running back play. They like pass-catching running backs. Matt Ryan is on the last end of his career, and so is Gurley. Gurley feels betrayed by his team, so he's got a chip on his shoulder. I like guys with chips on their shoulder. That's one thing I do like. I love to draft guys with a chip on their shoulder. Why not? A guy with a chip on his shoulder is going to perform. He's mad as hell. He's going to perform. That's what's going to happen. So, I like Gurley this year. Get you a Gurley. You know what you're going to get out of him. He's going to put up, he's going to put up top 10 numbers. He may not give you 30 points a week, but Gurley's going to give you 15 points a week. He's going to give you 75 yards and a touchdown every week because that's where Atlanta's going to use him for. And if you're in a PPR setting, I do believe they start using him in the passing game. The other thing with Gurley is competition. Look around Gurley and answer me who is there that is such a massive competition for him that he cannot beat out. Who's going to come in and play instead of Gurley? And you don't have an answer there. So, guys, number 7, Gurley is my guy. I like it. That's where I would go, guys. That's just from pure knowledge of watching how teams progress and watching what this team is geared to do. Number 8, guys, here's my one rookie in the top 10. And this is my guy for this season. It is what it is. Don't like him. Sorry. But he's my guy. Jonathan Taylor. Look, guys, we start talking Jonathan Taylor. I've talked to him a few times. I can never get enough talking about Jonathan Taylor because this is a guy that has put up over 2,000 scrimmage yards, really 2,000 rushing yards, every season in college with limited to no injuries. Limited to no injuries with that much usage. So what that tells me is this guy he's primed for the NFL. And guys, also keep in mind 2,000 yards. That's people are like, oh, that's whatever, dude. 2,000 yards in a college season where you don't have 16 games. A lot of these teams don't have that many games. Some of these teams don't. Some of these teams have like close to it. Depends on their bowl games and stuff. Over 2,000 yards. He's always a 15 to 20 touchdown guy. And he's never had great quarterback play. So every team he plays against is gunning for him. Every team is going and chasing him down and trying to take him out, and they can't. So, guys, Jonathan Taylor he gets drafted to the Colts. The Colts have Phillip Rivers, who has always done good with Melvin Gordon. He's always done good by Melvin Gordon. He's always made Melvin Gordon a top-tier running back. We still draft right now. People are going to draft Melvin Gordon in the first 5 rounds this year. With Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman still in the background with him, people are still going to draft him in the top 5 rounds, maybe sooner. Just because Phillip Rivers had used him correctly, So whenever you put Phillip Rivers with Jonathan Taylor, and you put that offensive line in front of Jonathan Taylor, what do you expect to happen? They have plenty of passing options. They have Michael Pittman. They have Paris Campbell, and they have T.Y. Hilton. They're going to find a tight end. That's just how the Colts do. The Colts will always find a tight end. It may not be the best. He may not be the top 5 tight end in the world, but they're always going to find one and make him useful. That's something that Rivers will do. Rivers have always made a tight end useful. You go look at the Chargers tight ends over the years. Tell me that you weren't picking Chargers tight ends in fantasy football the last 10 years. So you're also picking the Chargers running back of the last 10 years, and that was Melvin Gordon, who's very similar to Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is a much better uphill runner, downhill runner, whatever you want to call it. He's much better in between the tackles than Melvin Gordon. Much, much better there. He may lose a little bit in the passing game to Gordon. I think that he does a little bit lose some to Gordon. Not a lot, but a little. So, guys, I want you to focus on that and know that when you draft Jonathan Taylor, you're going to draft him pretty early, and he is a rookie. He is a rookie, and he's got Marlon Mack there. So there's that, there's always a clause with all these guys. There's always something there in the red print that you got to read up on. You've got to understand when you draft them. Every one of these guys is going to come with some kind of problem that you're going to have to work through. It's like a relationship, guys. It's always going to be a problem. Is that problem worth what you're getting from them? Is that problem worth the production? I believe it's more than worth the production with Jonathan Taylor. I do. I know what you're going to get from him. He's easily could jump up the board, and I wouldn't be shocked for next year for us to be drafting Jonathan Taylor top 3. Wouldn't shock me at all. I actually suspect that we will. He's that freaking good. I suspect that this is the next Zeke coming into the league. Maybe J.K. Dobbins. Those two are going to be the 2 rookie running backs that, barring the carries that they get, the opportunity that they get, that's what's going to make or break them for being the Rookie of the Year candidates. If J.K. Dobbins steps in, if something happened today and Baltimore traded Ingram, I think J.K. Dobbins would step in and be the best. He would compete with Jonathan Taylor. They would both be competing to be in the top 5 running backs. That's just me. So, number 9... number 9 is going to be, I'm kind of torn here. I'm really torn here. But number 9 for me, I've been going back and forth on this for a few days. I'm going to say David Johnson. I've been back and forth on 9 and 10. I'm going to, and these are 2 guys that, a lot of you guys are going to say I'm crazy for going these guys. I'm okay with that. I'm looking for what I'm getting out of these guys. That's what I'm looking. I'm looking at my return. I'm looking at where I'm drafting them. All these factors come into play, guys. I'm not just going off of talent here. I'm looking at these are top 10 guys, and I'm looking at where can I get them? Is it legit? Is it a reasonable position? So David Johnson has fallen down to like the 5th round of everybody's draft boards. I get it. I know why. I understand why. He's since his rookie year, he has not put up any numbers that are great. He's also had some injuries. Now, guys, let's go look at last season. And last season, with a team that was developing, really wasn't together and just developing, before he got injured, he was RB6. So he can put up the numbers. There's no doubt in my mind David Johnson is good. There's no doubt in my mind he could be a top 5, top 10 running back. Zero doubt. The question is, what happens here with Houston now? Houston is a new place for him. This is a brand new landing spot. And I'm going to tell you right now. What's going to happen with David Johnson. When we look back last year at Carlos Hyde, Duke Johnson Jr., they were both putting up like RB2, RB1 numbers every week. Now, that was with the fact that they were having to use Hyde as a runner and having to use Duke Johnson as a pass catcher. Well, you get David Johnson in there, he can do both. So there's no reason in taking him off the field. And Houston won't. They're going to leave him on the field. He's going to be their RB1. They traded Nuke for him. They traded the best wide receiver in the game for David Johnson. What do you think they're going to do with David Johnson? Honestly, answer that question. Think about that. They traded the best wide receiver in the game. I'm not going to argue Michael Thomas. They traded one of the best. This is years. Nuke has been the best for years. They traded him for David Johnson. And what do you think they plan on doing with David Johnson? They plan on using him to not have to use 2 running backs. Because whenever you throw Duke Johnson in the game, what does everybody say? They're about to throw the ball. When you throw Hyde in the game, what does everybody say? They're probably going to run the ball. So when you put David Johnson in, which is going to happen? We don't know. So that's why, guys, David Johnson is a number 9 running back for me. You get him in the 5th round a lot of times. Really solid leagues, 3rd or 4th round is where he falls. If he's your RB3, maybe RB2, I wouldn't mind having him as my RB2 at all. RB2, RB3, dude, you're winning. So he's not missing on anything by grabbing David Johnson. There's nothing wrong with grabbing David Johnson, especially where he's at on draft boards. So, very big fan of David Johnson. I'm not going to knock the guy from last season. Last season sucked for a lot of players, guys. And this season is shaping out to suck for a lot of players. But one thing I do think is going to stay pretty reasonable, I think you're going to have a lot of people depend heavy on the run game this year. So I have no problem with the run game this year. I really, really, really like this. So guys, I'm suggesting to everybody, please focus heavy on your run game, guys. The running backs are a different breed from wide receivers. Running backs like Zeke. Zeke missed all of last year sitting out. He missed all the preseason sitting out. He comes in and he puts up reasonable numbers for 2 or 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden he takes off. Running backs don't need as much as the wide receivers need. The wide receivers miss their camp. They start dealing with hamstrings. They start dealing with knee injuries, all of the above. So, getting David Johnson is a perfect match, guys. If you're going to get him in round 4, maybe even round 3, I really don't care. It just depends on who he is on your team. Make sure he's your RB2 or RB3. RB3 would be amazing. If you can get him as your RB3, you are winning. Easy. So, lastly, guys, this is one that I'm probably going to take some heat for. I'm okay with it. Leonard Fournette. Guys, I think we've forgotten about Leonard Fournette. The thing with Leonard Fournette is, if you're going to get him as your... Now, keep in mind where you're getting him. That's another thing I like about, when I do top 10s, guys, I'm probably going to throw in 1 or 2 guys that you're getting later that should be coming up earlier. And these are guys that I'm suggesting as, as flex type players. And this is a flex position guy. You're going to get him as an RB3, maybe an RB4, depending on where you get him. But Leonard Fournette is still going to... Guys, the talent's still there. He finished last season out pretty well. He's still a pretty healthy guy. So you're not losing on Leonard Fournette. And I understand that people will say, why not Cook? And I'm just going to tell you guys, I'm leaving Cook alone right now. So, that's my top 10, guys. I don't want to involve Cook yet. Maybe if all this contract situation starts getting changed up, I'll drop a whole video explaining Cook. I'll drop a 15-20 minute video explaining Cook, explaining the contract, and we'll go through all that. As of right now, if you're dealing with contract situations, I don't want to talk it. Because to be honest with you, I'm not happy with Cook. I'm not happy with a guy who doesn't finish a single season in his career and turns around and tells his team he needs to be the highest paid running back in football. Are you kidding me? You can't even finish a season and you want to be the highest paid running back in football? So he's not going to be on my top 10. I'm sorry. If you like him, I'm sorry. But I don't put players on my top 10 list that are not reasonable. I'm not dealing with all that. That's crazy, guys. And he's got a guy on his team named Alexander Mattison, who the Vikings could plug in today, that will put up top 10 running back numbers because Madison's that freaking good. So, I'm not okay with Cook being the way he's been. I think that if it was up to me and I was the GM for the Vikings, I would throw Madison in the lineup. I'd let Cook sit on the sidelines and pout about his contract, and I'd sit there and run Madison all season. That would be me. That'd be me. I'd tell him, here's your contract, sign it or leave it, and if you want to leave it, that's fine. You can sit right here and watch this guy have a 1,500-yard season. Because he's going to have – Madison will easily break 1,000 to 1,200 rushing yards. Easy. So I would easily do that. So, guys, I think Cook is a great talent. He's not a good finisher, and he never has proven me different. When he proves me different, Cook will be in my top 10 running backs. Until then, I'm not going to mess with Cook because he burnt a lot of guys last year by getting hurt in the playoffs. So I'm just leaving that situation alone for now. One other thing, guys, I'm going to throw in. According to the rumors that we're getting, Dak Prescott has signed a 4-year deal worth $35 million a season, or he's going to today or in the next few days. So that's something new, guys. West Coast Cowboy broke that news. Another thing, guys, tomorrow afternoon, Tuesday nights, me and Coach Higgins and West Coast will be live on West Coast Facebook channel, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope to see you guys there. Thank you for joining Grind Time today, guys. Have a good day, guys.